Hello, everyone. My name's George Wendt. I'm born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Lifelong White Sox fan. Here to pay tribute to the closing days of Comiskey Park. If it's a little noisy in the background, please forgive us, such as the price we pay for progress. Inside, we forget about progress. We celebrate tradition. Because here is where generations of Chicagoans, myself included, have learned about baseball. For 80 years, this baseball cathedral stood proudly amidst the rugged urban landscape of Chicago's South Side. Comiskey Park is deeply rooted in the folklore of the Bridgeport neighborhood, where thousands of Irish potato famine immigrants settled in the 1850s to dig the Illinois-Michigan Canal. Toddlin, Chicago has been a baseball town for longer than anyone can remember. In 1878, this son of a Chicago alderman was already playing professional ball. In 1900, the old Roman Charles Comiskey brought his St. Paul team to a new home in the wooden stadium at 39th and Wentworth. 3 years later, the White Stockings owner was planning to build the baseball palace of the world. Comiskey built his palace at 35th and Shields on a parcel of land formerly owned by Chicago Mayor John Wentworth. Construction began in the winter of 1910 on the third concrete and steel stadium in America. Architect Zachary Taylor Davis laid a lucky green brick cornerstone on St. Patrick's Day, 1910. Comiskey Park opened its gates for the first time on July 1st, 1910. Comiskey's imposing park with its single-deck grandstand was likened to an ancient Roman Colosseum. Nearly symmetrical in design, its foul lines extended 363 feet from home plate. The vast contours of the outfield helped pitchers at the expense of hitters. This dead ball style of play, Comiskey reasoned, was the purest and most inspiring brand of baseball. Players would have to scratch and claw for every run. Pennant years 1917 and 1919 marked unparalleled success for the White Sox, but the glory was fleeting. How different it might have been if the Sox had had their own Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, to rescue them from the shame of the 1920 Black Sox scandal. For the next 30 years, Comiskey's team was destined to become all too familiar with last place. Chicago fans turned out to see the Babe, sip Orange Crush, and to cheer on their lovable losers no matter what the outcome. Sluggers such as Babe Ruth, Gehrig, Jimmy Fox created record-breaking attendance in the 20s. Comiskey added 20,000 outfield upper deck seats over the winter of 1926. But there were some consequences that the old Roman did not envision. The upper deck cast formidable shadows across the playing field. And after the Depression set in, these seats were rarely filled. It was in 1930 that Luke Appling began his 20 seasons at Comiskey Park. But not even aches and pains Appling could lift the team out of their doldrums. The once proud Sox were chronic losers. The founder's son, J. Lewis Comiskey, became club president in 1931. To spur sagging attendance, he installed an electronic public address system featuring recorded music for the 1935 season. He added light towers in 1939, and the novelty of night baseball helped bring fans to the park after Luke went off to the war. Grace Comiskey, widow of Lewis, dominated operations into the 50s. She insisted that there always be a Comiskey at the head of the White Sox. The old Roman's grandson, Charles Comiskey II, modernized the park in 1948. He installed a press box for the football Cardinals, vapor lights in the parking lots, and additional washrooms. Later, he removed the twin scoreboards on the outfield walls and replaced them with the towering electronic Chesterfield board in center field. It's a hit. Good times seemed at hand. Under Chuck's leadership and that of Bill Beck, the Go-Go White Sox won the pennant in 1959. That winning season also marked the end of the Comiskey dynasty. Dorothy Rigney, Charles' sister, sold her controlling interest in the White Sox to Bill Beck and his associates. The tenure of that eclectic showman, Bill Beck, had begun. The park received its now familiar coat of whitewash, and in 1960, he replaced the Chesterfield board with the Exploding Monster. It released a joyous salvo of rockets, mortars, and billows of white smoke each time a Sox player slugged that all too infrequent home run. In 1961, Beck added a picnic area under the left field grandstand. Fans could watch the plays unfold from an outfielder's perspective. The adjacent Dan Ryan Expressway opened in 1962 and provided easier access to the park. Attendance, however, remained low. In 1969, saddled with a losing ball club and diminishing returns at the box office, owner Art Allen strung a temporary fence across the perimeter of the outfield and installed fashionable AstroTurf on the infield. The fence disappeared in 1970 after Boog Powell, Harmon Killebrew, and Frank Robinson turned Allen's Alley into a shooting arcade. To everyone's relief, the fake Sox sod was taken out by Bill Veeck in 1976. Yes, Veeck was indeed back, and during the 70s, he augmented the cheerless performance of his team with a grab bag of zany stunts and promotions that became his most colorful legacy. Belly dancers slithered across the infield. Fans were encouraged to take a public shower in the center field bleachers, and Minnie Minoso attempted a comeback at age 57. Comiskey Park was rocked by Steve Dahl's disco demolition on July 12, 1979. The resulting damage to the field caused the White Sox to forfeit a game to the Detroit Tigers. Less than a month later, hordes of rock and roll fans trampled the outfield grass during a series of day-long concerts. White Sox fans returned on August 11th for a game with the Toronto Blue Jays, only to see their grounds crew spray painting the muddy outfield dark green. No longer able to pay for the costly renovation projects to maintain the park, Bill Veeck left baseball at the end of 1980. Comiskey's once glimmering baseball palace of the world was falling apart by the time it celebrated its diamond anniversary in 1985. New owners Jerry Reinsdorf and Eddie Einhorn installed skybox suites and a Diamond Vision scoreboard in 1982. But the deteriorating infrastructure proved to be a constant cash drain. A scarcity of good box seats and those 49 vertical posts that never failed to obscure the big play suggested that drastic changes would have to be made. But this is not about the history of Comiskey Park. It's not a history of the great teams that have played here either. It's more than that. It's about memories. It's about what baseball does to us. It's about 80 years of celebration here in our old friend, Comiskey Park. We spent most of the 1990 season here. We watched our boys of summer perform their magic one last time. Had ourselves some beers, ate more than a few dogs, but mostly we listened. We listened to the players, to the vendors, the Andy Frains, the White Sox staff, and to the heart of the Comiskey Park family, the fans. This is what they had to say. All right, we're going to go inside the park now. But before we do, I'd like you to please observe the rules. No alcoholic beverages, cans, bottles, or hard containers are allowed in the park. During some White Sox eras, it appeared there were no bats allowed in the park either. You know, I'm looking at the new stadium. I think it's pink. I don't know. Maybe I'm colorblind. But pink? Chicago? Yep. I still fit through the turnstile. God, I love this place.
Oh, sitting on Babe Ruth's lap. Oh, 1928. He was with us over in the back seats. And he had a Coke and bought us a hot dog, all the kids.
Probably Nellie Fox night. Actually, I saw the first game when I was a babe in arms in 1947. 48, Satchel Paige was pitching.
We used to walk to our house at 43rd and Wallace, all the way down here. Got Ladies' Day.
I used to come here with my dad when I was a little kid. Remember the first game we were here, we were on the upper deck, had my glove. Never got a ball, though. I used to always try.
Watching the monster when it goes off, when we've hit a home run. Oh, during the '83 season, I remember seeing a grand slam here, and the place almost went nuts. That was wonderful. Just the people who hang out there and being able to pal around with all of them. I think that's wonderful.
I'll never forget. His older brother and I were here, sitting somewhere back behind home plate, and got a pop fly, and he reached up and caught it. So that was a big event for us.
Well, I remember Mr. Comiskey, the old Roman. He used to make his own pop, and he'd be wearing an old gabardine coat, and they sold the pop for a nickel a bottle, and it still must have made money.
1959 was great satisfaction, especially beating those Yankees. You know, that was just like going to confession and coming out clean, beating the Yankees.
Yeah, we was here with my wife when they opened up the lights. They played the Yankees.
Also been coming down here for 40 years, but to see the Yankees play the Sox, or beat them.
I'll always remember the rivalries with the Detroit Tigers teams back in the 50s and 60s, you know, when Nellie Fox was playing for the Sox then, and I always remember those series.
You know, I've grown up in this ballpark.
But now he's known as the commander, Carlton Fisk. Man, 42 years old and still playing the game. He's one of the great ones, and I'll always remember the times talking to him and just watching him play.
And I, too, have been coming out here since perfect attendance at school, and my father and mother would take us here a couple times a year, and we'd come at night games so we could see the fireworks.
Oh, God, I've been coming here since about 30, 40 years. It was a critical series. The Sox were fighting for the pennant against the Yankees. Billy Pierce, Whitey Ford's on the mound, and we wound up losing it 1-0.
Try and get in about 10 or 15 games, come around, try and sneak in on one of the side gates. Once in a while, Andy Fraines would let you in, so try and get as many as you can.
Get a steak sandwich in a red brick hut.
There is nothing that I would say against the park or the Sox.
And Ladies' Day.
That's the first time I went to a ball game, I can remember coming out of Luke. I was 8, 9 years old, my dad took me. And every time I go sit in those grandstands, I can't help thinking of Luke Caffrey.
To me, it was a band's ballpark, the ideal setting. And there's just nothing could compare with it.
I was brought up a Sox fan because my grandfather was a Sox fan with the old Black Sox tradition. He told me, you are a White Sox fan. He also told me that you will hate the Cubs.
So we're sitting there in his pouring rain, this other fella and myself, and he's not scheduled to pitch that night, but it's the first game of a 2-game set. There's nobody in the stands because it's raining so hard, there's water gushing out of the dugouts. I mean, there's no way in the world anybody's going to play this game. We sat there, Ronnie and myself and the beer vendor, for it had to be 3 hours because there's nobody else there. And Bill Veeck would not call the game off because we knew if he did, that Fidrich, who was supposed to pitch the next game, would be pushed back and he wouldn't pitch, and then Bill would lose about 40,000 plus people.
Program scorecard lineup. Program is scorecard lineup.
As soon as you walk through the turnstiles, the sounds and echoes of Comiskey Park was the same in 1929, 30, and 31 as it is today.
Well, you know, it's an old ballpark, and I mean, Babe Ruth used to come down them steps there and out into the field and all that. And they said at times he'd go out that side door across the street to McCuddy's and have a few, and then come back in and play ball. So it's an old ballpark.
Miller Lite. Come and get it now.
I can remember the home plate that Bill Veeck put in, my dad put in for Bill Veeck in 1960. It had the little air nozzle that came up and cleaned off home plate. The ball basket behind home plate, another Bill Veeck invention. Things like that you just never forget. Some of the players you meet, like let's say the Dick Allens, just a tremendous person. There's one man that people, they really never knew. They just read about him in the paper, one of the nicest gentlemen you never meet. When I was 5 years old, I was coming out here with my dad, so my heart is actually here, but let me say this. Across the street is like a new car.
I recall coming here for Ted Lyons Day. Ted Lyons used to be a Sunday pitcher. And I recall coming here in about 1940 or 39 when they gave him a big red Buick. And I recall one night also being here when he was pitching, when he had a no-hitter until 2 outs in the 9th inning, and Joe Gordon got a double over the third base line to win his no-hitter. I have a lot of memories here. I remember Luke Appling. I remember Zeke Benura, Moose Solters, Jackie Hayes, you know, so I was just a kid with a lot of them. I recall the day that Merv Connors hit 3 home runs in 1936. And the 4th time up, he hit a double off the scoreboard and broke a light on the auxiliary scoreboard.
I remember the 1983 All-Star game, the 50th anniversary All-Star game. We had the greatest collection of ball players ever assembled in one place. And we had almost every living Hall of Famer was here, and 5-time All-Stars, and there's an incredible picture that was taken of those people. And I'll never forget seeing all those great ball players in one place. And, you know, I could go on, the 1983 Division Championship. Julio Cruz crossing home plate on a sacrifice fly hit by Harold Baines. And there's so many memories, and you know, you can sit for hours and think about them. And those memories are never going to go away. The ballpark's going to go away, but the memories are not going to go away.
Well, we always enjoyed the White Sox for my father. It gave us an opportunity to really visit with him and to be there at a night game or a day game, a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. So you had a lot of time with your parents, which is important. And I think it's good for everyone to take their kids out to American pastime, baseball, and spend some time with their children. Because, you know, it's a very enjoyable game, and besides that, you have time to converse with your children. And I think we need more of that in our society anyway.
Very hard to forget the first game of the 1959 World Series. You know, we had been in pennant chases from 51 on, and we won the pennant in 59. We play here the first game of the World Series. We win it big. Kluszewski hits a couple home runs. I forget 11-0, 13-0. We win it big. It's hard to forget that ball game. The rest of the series we'll forget.
This has a lot of fond memories because really this is where I got started. And, you know, they've asked me, you know, what do you think of Sox Park when you see it? You know, I said, I think of the 1967 season probably was the best managed season I've been around. When Eddie Stanky took a bunch of ragtag ball players that couldn't do a lot of things except we could pitch and catch balls, and went down to the last week.
I think a personal memory, I had a grand slam here in '64 against the Yankees, and that really, I still remember that well because being a pitcher, you know, and it won the ball game for us, and that stands out in my mind more than probably anything I did pitching.
Yeah, it was a tough yard, ballpark. If the wind wasn't blowing right, you had a hard time hitting the ball out. It was a very big center field.
When I was on third base in 1983 and Harold Baines was up, the Mariners brought in Ed Vanderberg to pitch against them. Baines, I think, hit the first pitch to center field. And I remember Jim Leland, who's the manager now with the Pittsburgh Pirates, I remember him coming up to me and saying, "Cruiser, tag up, make sure you tag up, and make sure you don't fall down." But before that, when I went to tag up, I remember seeing the crowd, the fans, on the edge of their seats, and not only that, ready to come over the field. And to me, my hairs began to stand up, and I don't remember the run. To today, 1990, I do not remember the run from the time I tagged up to score that winning run. I do not remember it.
I would say from a hitter's standpoint, or probably a pitcher's standpoint too, if you look up to that flag and the wind's blowing out, it's a comparatively easy park to hit a home run in. But if that wind's blowing in, forget about it.
It was one of the great baseball parks I ever played. And this park, no matter if they tore down, they're going to be inside of my mind. I'm going to remember, but in the meantime, I was anxious to see the new park too, because it's going to be something great.
Number one thing is when you have a big crowd and they're excited about the home team, and then all of a sudden you see the home team do something good, the excitement level and how the players feel that and respond to it. I probably remember that more than anything.
But if I were to tell, I guess, some younger people, I'd say, hey, it was a beautiful old ballpark that was very close to the field. The fans felt like they were part of the action. There were some sitting behind some poles, but it was a unique place that I think when people came out and they went home from here, they knew they had had a good time.
That this stadium holds the noise better or worse than any other stadium. And it can be intimidating for the opposing team to come in here and get rocked around a little bit and then have the whole crowd go into the na-na, hey-hey chant. And they know they're done when that happens.
Na-na-na-na. Hey, 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 goodbye. So I've been around here, been a Sox fan my whole life, come out to the ballpark. Growing up,
remembering coming out and seeing these guys, seeing Fisk and Kittle coming out here in '83. I remember coming out and watching those guys play. And it's just amazing being in the same locker room with those same guys now.
I live in the Midwest. You're family and ethnic oriented, and little kids that come here today's fathers came here and their grandfathers came here, and I remember the old neighborhoods that we used to go visit and have dinner on Sunday afternoon, and they're still there.
Well, it was a big thrill for me to work the first All-Star game in 1933. But I also was able to manage to work the 50th one in 1983, which was a record, I think. I don't think there's many people that could say that they can work 2 different games in that span.
Was a single tiered and was a real low fence on the left and right field. In fact, we used to climb over and sneak in that way when we were kids. Climb over the top of cabins and sneak in the ballpark that way.
I know, we had a lot of fun. There used to be a gentleman here, a black gentleman, who the story was that he had been a fighter and he was virtually blind, and he had one of these little push carts for hot dogs. Nobody from the South Side would buy hot dogs except from this gentleman. We would wait until after the ball game and go out and buy our hot dogs, you know, for the trip home.
That's great.
We had a lot of fun here. It was very enjoyable. It was a, you know, it was a very simple time.
What do we think of the Cubs?
What troubles me about it is that the ghosts, the legacy, I'm concerned that this is going to disappear. I'm hopeful that some of it will at least be transplanted across the street. When I realized that this is the last park that Cy Young pitched in before he retired, that's still standing in America today, it tells me that a link to the past, an irretrievable link, if you will, is about to vanish from the culture. A piece of American history will go, and with it, the collective memories of many, many Chicagoans who are no longer with us. For all of its flaws, for all of its warts, Comiskey Park is one of the notable, beautiful structures in America today.
The sound, the sight just brings back all those, brings you just back to your childhood. I still listen to games on the radio now, even though we have, you know, most of the games televised. I like to leave it on just sort of as a background noise for my life, kind of a soundtrack for my life. It reminds me of the old men washing their cars, the dads, you know, in the alley on the south side, listening to the game on the Saturday afternoon. But there's been a lot of greats up here, and a lot of sparks were flying. Oh, there was some different styles. Well, of course, Bob Elson ruled the roost here for many years, the old commander. But Harry Carey was in here, of course. Let's see, who else? We got Jack Brickhouse, another great one. This is the press box. No cheering in here, so says Jerome Holtzman. Other guys, legendary writers up here. David Condon, John Carmichael, probably even some really old geezers that predate me by quite a few decades. This is the view they had. I think they did the official scoring from up here. I don't know how they could see anything. I'm dug in so close that I think I'd get a fastball right in the ear if I stood this close. How about more like this? The hot corner. Can you imagine, huh? Well, I don't know about you guys, but the first hot grounder that I really stayed down on when I was a kid, bounced up, hit me right in the teeth. Forever after, I was one of these kind of fielders. Okay, you're the manager. You're sitting at the end of the bench in the dugout. You know what you can see? You can see the pitcher, and you can see the grandstands. You can't see the field. You're too low. But you can see the pitcher. He's tiring. Trusty bullpen phone. Let's see if anyone answers. I feel like David Letterman. Yeah, bullpen. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, apparently there's a very hot blonde in section 3, row 4. Okay, we'll get the binoculars. Bullpen phone. Outgoing phone. What, pizzas? I don't know. They're not angry yet, are they? They haven't kicked this quite as much. Why would they be angry? They're here. They're only angry after they're taken out. Although a couple of guys have kicked it. Maybe they just had some personal problems. Memories. Sometimes, if you let your mind wander, you can almost see them out there, dazzling in their pinstriped, baggy flannels. Their ghosts dwell in old Comiskey Park, and through the decades, White Sox fans were delighted and tormented by the exploits of the great, near great, and the forgettable. The first decade of White Sox tenancy in Comiskey Park witnessed 2 pennants and several close shaves. Ed Walsh, the big reel from the Pennsylvania coalfields, twirled the first no-hitter for the Sox in their new surroundings on August 27, 1911 against Boston. That same year, the venerable Cy Young closed out his fabled 21-year career. Young appeared for the last time in Comiskey Park with the Cleveland Indians in April of 1911 before being traded to the National League. 2 pennants in 1917 and 1919 signaled the end of an era, a high point in White Sox history. Babe Ruth hit his first Comiskey Park home run on August 16, 1919, against fading veteran Erskine James Mayer. No one could recall a more powerfully hit ball. But all the attention that year was focused on the pennant-bound White Sox, whose skill on the diamond pointed toward an emerging Southside dynasty. Prohibition became the national obsession, and on the South Side, scandal and disgrace was to become the sordid fate of Kid Gleason's White Sox, who conspired to fix the World Series. A great team was decimated, a team that might otherwise have brought home untold honors. Banished forever were Buck Weaver, Swede Risberg, Ed Sykott, Chick Gandil, Lefty Williams, Hap Felsch, Fred McMullen, and the great shoeless Joe Jackson. Seasons passed, and Sox fans were inclined to forgive their ball club, even though the replacements fell well short of expectations. These clean White Sox gave it a good fight, but 6th or 7th place was the usual resting spot after Decoration Day. Art the Great Shires exploded on the scene in 1928. The rookie from Italy, Texas was a caricature of a reckless and unpredictable time in American history. Shires composed stale poetry for the ladies, and after cold-cocking his manager, Lena Blackburn, in the locker room, he decided to test his skills in the boxing ring against Chicago Bears centerman George Trafton. Commissioner Landis ordered a career decision. Baseball or boxing? What was it going to be? Shires chose baseball, but was immediately traded to the Washington Senators after demanding more money from the tight-fisted Comiskey. Smead Powell Jolly, the affable Arkansas giant, joined the Sox in 1930 after the old Roman anteed up $75,000 to the San Francisco Seals of the Pacific Coast League. Smead could hit the ball a country mile, but catching it was another matter. The Jolly boosters in the right field stands patiently offered encouragement to their hero, who, according to popular legend, once let a ball roll through his legs, hit the wall, and then roll back between his legs again. In 1932, just as his father had encouraged McCuddy to build his famous saloon across the street from the baseball palace of the world, Lou Comiskey helped Andy Frain start up his ushering service. In 1933, baseball fans voted for their favorite players, who would represent them in the baseball game of the century. The first All-Star game was played in Comiskey Park on July 6, 1933, pitting the grandest names from both leagues in a one-time event that was promoted as a side attraction to Chicago's Century of Progress World's Fair. Al Simmons of the White Sox was the leading vote-getter, but Babe Ruth stole the show by whacking the game's first home run off Bill Hallahan of the Cards. The American League prevailed by a 4-2 score to the delight of 47,000 fans who wondered why no one had thought of this sooner. Well, they had, actually. A year earlier, the Negro League played an all-star game in Comiskey's ball yard. The East-West game was the brainchild of Gus Greenlee, owner of the Pittsburgh Crawfords. In those years, all roads led to Comiskey Park, where Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, Double Duty Radcliffe, Turkey Stearns, Sand Mule Suttles, and other great stars from the Negro League put their talents on display each year in the East-West Showdown. For 6 years between 1938 and 47, the Negro League All-Star Game in Comiskey Park actually outdrew the Major League version. Comiskey Park's ties to Chicago's black community were very strong. The American League color barrier was broken here on July 5, 1947, when Larry Doby came up to pinch hit for the Cleveland Indians. He struck out swinging against White Sox pitcher Earl Harris, but quietly succeeded in a more important mission. Indians owner Bill Veeck unveiled Doby in Comiskey Park, so it was fitting that in 1978 he appoint him manager. Doby was the second black manager in baseball, after Frank Robinson. On May 1st, 1951, Mickey Mantle connected for his first career home run against Randy Gumpert. That night, a charismatic rookie named Orestes Minnie Minoso shattered the White Sox color barrier, and with it, he set into motion the epoch of go-go. It was the 50s, of course. We cheered the exploits of Nellie Fox, who collected 200 singles nearly every year without breaking a sweat. We shared Billy Pierce's anguish the night of June 27, 1958, when Ed Fitzgerald of the Senators broke up his bid for a perfect game with a pinch double down the right field line with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Big Ted Kluszewski came from Pittsburgh in August of '59. He cut off his sleeves and helped wrap up the pennant. We remember Sherm Lawler, who was the Sox catcher for what seemed like forever. Also remember a disgruntled fan once punching little Sammy Esposito in the snoot after he committed a costly error against the Yanks. Sox fans had to content themselves with a 2nd or 3rd place finish each year until 1959, when Al Lopez and his boys put it all together and made it to the World Series for the first time in 40 years. However, the dream and the decade ended in gloomy defeat when the Los Angeles Dodgers, transplanted from Brooklyn no less, took it to the Sox in 6 games. the 50s were over, and the familiar names were slowly being traded away or retired. Within a few years, Sox fans pinned their hopes on a stellar pitching staff that included Gary Peters, Joel Harlan, Hoyt Wilhelm, and Tommy John. They kept the club in the thick of things right down to the wire. But our hearts were broken in 1964 and again in 1967. There just wasn't enough bat power to support all the superb pitching. Bill Veeck had traded away bonus babies Johnny Callison, Earl Batty, and Norm Cash. Chicagoan Denny McLain was another costly casualty of the Ed Short era. What might have been never was, as the 1960s ended on a note of despair. In the early 70s, Carlos May, Bill Melton, Wilbur Wood, and the mysterious slugger Dick Allen pointed the way to a bright future. But after the Sox challenged for the pennant in 1972 under the patient hand of field boss Chuck Tanner and new general manager Roland Hemond, injuries, discontent, and a cancerous free agency trimmed the ranks. In the late 1970s, Sox fans struggled to identify with their bewildering ball club, with its softball-style uniforms, rent-a-player schemes, and their enigmatic owner, Bill Veeck, who always assured everyone that prosperity was right around the corner. It took considerable cash, supplied by Jerry Reinsdorf, Eddie Einhorn, and several associates, to restore the White Sox to their winning ways after Bill Veeck sold the team at the conclusion of the 1980 season. The Bossard family has lovingly tended the Comiskey Park field for 3 generations. During the 80s, we pinned our hopes on Harold Baines and Greg the Bull Lazinski, and on Carlton Fisk, the thinking man's catcher, who recorded his 2000th hit in Comiskey Park in 1989 and toppled the club home run record during the final season. We recall, too, the firebrand managers, Jimmy Dykes, who tagged the 1940 Cleveland Indian Ball Club crybabies and offered them a rubber dolly for their troubles, Eddie Stanky, who ordered his pitchers to play some chin music on opposing hitters, and Tony La Russa, who pulled up third base and hurled it into the next county during the 1983 flag chase. Comiskey Park was the home of Jungle Jim Rivera, Red Faber, Ray Schalk, Iron Mike Krivich, Early Wynn, Earl Torgeson, Bart Johnson, Al Smith, Chico Carrascal, and Little Louie Aparicio. Over the years, these hustling, scrappy teams made us proud. Their names roll off the tongue like family. Seaver, Kittle, Phillips, Trucks, Skowron, Banera, Callaway, Brody, Zisk. They brought us here every chance we had and are still cherished by the most deserving, loyal fans in the world, White Sox fans. The Cubs are the fair-haired child. Everybody who moves here from out of town automatically becomes a Cub fan. All the college kids who come to Chicago for a career, do they latch onto the White Sox? No, you got to be born and raised on the South Side.
It represents baseball in its finest form. It's a throwback. A big part of baseball to me is history and tradition, and you don't find any more history and tradition than what's here.
It was the palace. Everything was nice in there.
It was a place where people love to come to because they love the game.
Great place to have a ball game. Great place.
I call it prehistoric Comiskey Park.
I could just say one word, it's nostalgia. It's just a beautiful park. It's going to be missed.
A lot of fun with friends as well as family. Great athletics. Fun place to hang out, that's all.
You had to be a White Sox fan. You couldn't be a Cub fan. So, of course, Comiskey Park took on a special significance. Very tribal.
You had to be here to appreciate it. It was one in a million. You'll never find another one like it.
It was the oldest part, one of the oldest parks, and it was one of the best, too. It was just, everybody was happy around it, and It went down in 1990, and I'll never forget this year.
It's a heck of a park. You know, it's really a beautiful place.
If you really want to enjoy a good ball game, White Sox Park is the place to come out and enjoy it.
Missing a lot of fun. The only park you have so much fun in.
Being out here in a competitive situation with a lot of people, and if you're on the home team having something no good, the excitement level that you feel was very special.
A great ballpark, a lot of nostalgia, and really fantastic fans.
The aura around the park, you could just tell when you're in here, the excitement that you feel.
It's a place where I was raised. I'll never forget it. And it was a shame that it was tore down.
It was a real nice park, a real good park to play baseball.
This was a great ballpark in the sense that when I played here and had the great hitters, nobody, only Babe Ruth, the only one, I think Ruth and Gehrig, were the only ones to hit home runs on top of the roof.
The natural grass, you can just see about from anywhere you could have a good position. Seating is excellent, and the history.
Just a lot of tradition, a lot of good times, and a lot of fun. This place was rocking because that was '77 with the Hitmen and the singing, and the crowd was roaring. And if you lost a ball game, you could go into the visiting clubhouse, and it sounded like the fans were still in there with you when the game was over. The same was true in '83. So when I came in last year as the manager, and the day that I was interviewed and introduced, I just was talking about we would love to return to that type of thing where we would have the fans out here in great numbers and be really that kind of team that would bring about that kind of support, and we've done that again.
This is a ballpark that has a lot of tradition, a lot of history, and a lot of memories. But because it's being torn down doesn't mean that history or those memories disappear. It's just that they're moving, 50 yards across the street, still in the same part of town, still in the same city.
Old ballpark, from what I remember, I'd say it was an old ballpark, not many like it, a lot of character, the deep center field fence that kind of got covered up by the bullpens. But in the Bill Veeck era, it was a lot of fun, different baseball, showers in the outfield, just something you won't see in your time again.
It goes back to the old days, the old school, the dugouts, the locker room, when there were the hard ball players. And I enjoyed it.
Huge, lots of things to eat, lots of things to drink, and a lot of fun.
It was baseball in its best because you had the natural turf. The field was big. It was built when it first came up. It was like a palace when it first was built, and they started playing ball. From what my father told me, he used to take me to a lot of games, and to me, not like Comiskey Park. Never, not like Comiskey Park.
Beautiful day coming to the park to come and watch a baseball game.
I'm a Sox fan.
When we came to town, it was always cold and rainy, it seemed like, and I always wondered why they didn't have a dome like we do at home. But no, I like playing here on the surface. It's a lot of fun to play in this ballpark, a lot of atmosphere. People are always into the game, very knowledgeable.
Comiskey Park was a great time. It was a great joy and a great thrill to come out to see my heroes. And I would tell him to come out to the ballpark and see his heroes, to see that scoreboard in center field, to check out all the sights and sounds of a Major League Baseball game, and remind him, bring his son out to the ball game and have the same joy and thrill that I had.
It was a baseball park. I say like a baseball park, baseball like the real old days. The feeling that you got when you come out to a ballpark like this.
The outside of the stadium is the original color, that rose color of the original Comiskey Park in 1910. Not the white that we've painted it now, kind of, that spruce it up every year. So I think we'll stick with that. George is just going to have to learn to live with it.
This is where I came to appreciate baseball, in its pure form, without the surrounding hype and hysteria. This was baseball. The grass was, the overused cliche, the grass was always greener at Comiskey.
Well, I'll just say it had the smell of a ballpark. It had good distances. It had a deep center field. And it was a fun place to watch a ball game.
Great park with great fans, intimate views in some places, horrible views in other places, exciting baseball, and teams that really wanted very badly to win.
Comiskey Park sort of represents a place that all people, no matter what their style of living or whatever, can come together on the south side of the city and really enjoy themselves, and leaves here with a good frame of mind.
It was close. It was noisy. fun, boisterous.
The vision of the underdog. This was, for everything else you want to say about it, a place where for a brief moment in time, the underdog had his day in the sun.
I'm a White Sox fan, but also then you're a Chicago fan, and I think the Cub fans understand that.
That I was probably the last one to hit one on the roof. Because yesterday in VP, I hit one up on the roof.
The way these fans have conducted themselves and loved this stadium and loved this ballpark, and they've been perfect, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that's the thing I remember the most.
Oh, well, I think Charlie Comiskey said it best. The old man would have torn this place down 25 years ago.
It's real, it's bricks, it's stones, it's grass, it's beer, hot dogs, and peanuts.
It was a fun place to be. I mean, I have a record at home, the Southside Irish. I don't know if you've heard it. The last line, our two favorite teams is the Chicago White Sox and whoever the Cubs are playing today.
Because my dad got tickets to Game 1 of the '59 World Series, and he got 4 tickets. And he took my sister Kathy and myself, and he took my cousin Willie, who was at Fenwick High School. He pulled him out of Fenwick, and he asked our principal of our school, Christ the King, he asked Sister Mary Suzanne for permission to pull us out of school after lunchtime to go to the World Series. And Sister Suzanne denied him permission. And so he pulled us out anyway. And I thought, whoa, this is major. This was like a bold move by my dad. I said, Dad, why did you, why'd you pull us out anyway when Sister Suzanne said no? And he said, son, there may never be another World Series in Chicago in your lifetime. I'm sitting in a view-obstructed seat. I think they actually charge money for these. Matter of fact, I'm certain they charge money for these. I wonder if they give you a discount. Anyway, you know, you can do a few things. It's better than not being here. But it's kind of unique, isn't it? Well, say goodbye to things like these. We will not have any imperfections in our new ballpark. Tradition, like a fine old family heirloom, is lovingly handed down from one generation to the next. Through the turnstiles of old Comiskey Park, millions of Chicagoans have passed, each with their own special memories of a time and a place that seems less complicated with each passing year. Baseball is a wonderful blend of joy, anguish, and drama, played between the white lines in a magnificent open-air park surrounded by the neighborhoods that nurture it. It's an opportunity for a father to relive a magical moment from his own childhood with his boy. This shared experience of baseball is a rite of passage. And within Comiskey Park, some wonderful stories have been told over the years. In 1991, we continue our celebration in a new home. Chicago, baseball, and Comiskey Park. 80 years of celebration. Well, the time has come. It's all over. Time to say goodbye to Comiskey Park. 80 years of celebration. It's kind of a sad moment, but I'm proud to have been part of the team as one of generations of Sox fans. See you later. We'll miss you.